Yeah, just checking the volume there, folks. That's right, checking the volume. I wasn't telling my producer she was crazy. I was telling her the volume was too low. But maybe she is crazy, because you would have to be nuts to work with me. Speaking of nuts, I have a guest on my show today. I don't know why you said yes, Jonathan, but I'm delighted to have you here.
Not sure why I did it either, but happy to be here.
All right, well, good. Hey, before we launch into our conversation, this is where Jonathan and I get to play prophet and tell you what's going to happen tomorrow in the election and why. But I got to take a second to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, also Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility, and the Great March for Climate Action. And the only question I have for you is not if, but how many miles are you going to march next year? This is going to be quite an event. We'll talk more about that tomorrow when we discuss climate change. But I also got to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for helping to partner with me on this program, and remind you that if you've got any ideas at all about starting your own business, this coming Saturday, November 9th at Drake University, it's the place to be. It's a day-long event for only $35, and you can learn a lot about social media, how to use social media in your business plan, how to adapt your business strategy to accommodate the Affordable Care Act. Lots of good stuff. Go online, iesusa.org, and for only $35, you get an entire day of workshops and breakfast and lunch. I also want to thank Kim Foley with N-Touch Therapy Services. Kim is a licensed massage and physical therapist. And if you're a first-time customer, she'll give you a 1-hour-long full-body massage for only $40. Give her a shot at 979-8629. That's 979-8629. And I want to thank Hawk Restaurant in the East Village. Hawk is a great place because they go the extra mile. They get 90% of the food they serve from Iowa farms. The menu is thus always changing. If you ate there a month ago, go again. You'll be totally surprised. The menu will look nothing like it did a month ago. I'm going to go there tomorrow night with some folks from Nebraska who are thinking about being part of the Climate March. Check them out, folks. That's Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut. Okay, so we got a big election coming up next Tuesday. That would be tomorrow. Not just here in Des Moines, of course, but statewide. But as we are largely focused on the capital city here on some days, the capital city also known as the cultural and culinary crossroads of America, we're going to talk mostly about the Des Moines election. We might take a glance at some of the metro races and whatnot, but we also want to look at the courthouse referendum, the $81 million bond being floated. I was going to say foisted. No, floated by the County Board of Supervisors. We'll talk about that the second half of the program. But first, Jonathan and I are going to discuss the 3 races here in Des Moines. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
And you served on the Des Moines School Board for a while.
Yes, for 4 years. To get those 4 years, I ran a total of 5 times. So I lost 3, won twice.
You're a glutton for punishment.
So I've been through the mill of local races a little bit.
You've got more. I ran 9 times, won 7, and lost 2. I don't think I would have had your patience. I'm impressed.
Well, in its own way, running for office is kind of fun. I always try and encourage people who are articulate about complaining, be it city or county or school board. Run. It's not hard.
It's not hard, but it's hard to do it if you want to win.
Well, running to win is a whole different thing.
Yeah. Speaking of running to win, the at-large seat, it looked fairly competitive. I remember talking to Skip Moore way earlier this year. I said, Skip, I'm going to support you. This is before he had any even overtures of an opponent. I had no idea he'd have any opponent, and I was surprised that he got one, and surprised that he got one who was apparently pretty well funded and running a very aggressive campaign. And I think it might have been a close race. I would say it would have been a close race. Maybe if you asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said, maybe it'll be close. Skip will win, but it'll be close. That's what I would have said. Today I say Skip is going to win in a landslide.
I would agree with that. Well, a landslide, of course, is relative, but I would not be surprised if he gets over 55% of the vote.
Oh gosh, if he gets only 55% of the vote, I will be shocked. I would have said it might have been that close before Chris Diebel started sending out these attack pieces. That, I've never seen the Des Moines Register, endorse somebody and then go back and say, "Oops, we changed our mind." I've never seen that. Have you ever heard of that before?
I've never seen any paper do it.
Yeah. That to me is, and then in today's mail, I got another flyer from Chris, with the Register's endorsement on it. And that's, maybe he didn't see that coming. Maybe that piece was already in the hopper before you could stop it. But
But for color pieces, there's a week lead time at least.
That's probably it. But still, I mean, this is real. I mean, my take is that he's been really, really hurt badly by this, not just for this election, but for future political ambitions.
What was really interesting is this morning, Chris went on with Jan Michelson show, which is not the usual place that somebody of Chris's political persuasion would go, because both Skip and Chris are Democrats, fairly liberal Democrats actually. But I guess at this point, if you were advising him, you would say, what can go wrong? I mean, how much worse can you fall at this point? And he would not back down. He was fully defending the pieces. Jan even gave him a chance to say, if he had to do it over again, would you phrase it differently? And he would not say categorically he would. Yeah. So he is doubling down and standing by what he put out. Now, either he has some really strong polling, which I doubt, showing that he's hitting a nerve, or he's just really not willing to back up.
I doubt there's any polling on this, Ray. I mean, maybe there's some internal polling going on, but it can't be. I mean, anecdotally, I mean, if you judge just what you see on Facebook, on the letters to the editor page of the Register, just in conversations that I'm having, that I'm hearing other people having, this is going very, very poorly for Chris. And again, he might have been able to salvage some of the carnage had he some of the race if he had said, okay, well, yeah, maybe it wasn't the best decision politically. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have painted Skip with that brush, given that he wasn't on the council at the time. But no, like you said, he's even today, a day before the election, he's refusing to back down. That's not good.
Well, unless you look at it from the point of view that voters will give you credit in future years for not backing down, for standing by your principles. But I think when it comes to issues of accuracy, voters don't like people to be wrong.
Yeah, what is the principle here?
I don't see it.
Okay, I don't see it. I think not backing down from a principle is one thing, but not refusing to back down from a mistake is another.
It was real interesting. Jan actually said, I hate to be like Mike Wallace here, but I got to ask you some tough questions. No, Jan Michelson is not usually.
Jan Michelson doesn't want to ask tough questions since when?
It was kind of an interesting segment.
I've never been on his show when he didn't ask me tough questions.
That's what he's. I mean, particularly for progressive or folks.
So Chris is not a bad guy. He's done some good things. He's very articulate. He potentially has a future in politics. But right now, oftentimes you come through as a challenger, my experience, and maybe you can comment from your own experience as well. My experience is that if you come through an election and you lose, yet you run a decent campaign, you maintain a standard of dignity, you express yourself well, you build political capital. I built a lot of political capital after my campaign for governor. Yeah, I burned a bunch of it up when I ran for Congress. But
what's the point of having it if you don't use it?
Yes. Well, exactly. but Chris is he was building it up throughout this race, whether he won or lost, and he has burnt it all and then into a deficit now.
Well, it's interesting. If he does lose, it'll be one of those rare cases where the person who really where the challenger really outspends the incumbent and still loses. Usually in politics, particularly local politics, money is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Chris outraised Skip as of October 31st. It might be some slippage in November. Basically 2-1, 70,000 to 30. I think it was 70 to 32,000.
Wow, and that does not count the National Realtors Association. They're dropping.
Well, that was probably a negative value.
Oh yeah, no, that had to help. Well, again, why you're running for Des Moines City Council, and a lobbying group from Chicago, the National Realtors Association, puts out a piece with their address prominently displayed on there. How can that be a good thing? I mean, we're talking about a small universe of people who actually vote in the municipal elections.
6 to 8%.
What?
6 to 8% of.
I mean, and that's embarrassing. I'm ashamed that it's that low. But the fact that it is that low, those are the people who are paying attention to every detail, including the mailing address, the return address, and they see it's from the National Realtors Association in Chicago. I mean, how good can that go for you? I mean, I don't get
National PACs very rarely get involved in municipal elections.
Apparently, they're getting involved with the Coralville City
which is
Council
weird.
race
I
as
don't
well.
quite get that one either.
But, there's got to be something. I mean, I don't know what the National Realtors Association has in mind for Des Moines, but there's got to be something that they want, that they feel they can get with the right people on the city council.
Well, presumably easier building regulations.
I'll bet it's probably more than that. There's got to be plenty of cities around the country.
I mean, there's infinite opportunities for zoning. I mean, there's a huge amount of open land on the south side, so zoning could be something, but it's still very unusual.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do wish that Chris Diebel will come out of this with a little bit of soul searching and remain active and find a way to kind of build up his political capital. Because right now, I mean, what's your prediction, Jonathan?
Well, as I said,
I 55%?
I think skip by at least 55%. It's real interesting trying to figure out the differences between these two, but really on policy are not all that much. As of this morning, Diebel was saying he wants to cut the budget instead of having a franchise fee or a sales or a property tax increase to pay the franchise fee fiasco.
Do you think Chris Hensley talked him into running?
That's been stated, and he has not disagreed with it. I have no idea, but he has not tried to disagree with it.
Probably yes.
Probably
that's got to create some tension on the council. Presumably
that happens a lot. I mean, Frank County endorsed Skip Moore. On school boards, certainly there were times when sitting board members endorsed candidates, challengers. Most people leave it behind.
Well, let's see who's closer, Jonathan. I'm going to predict that Skip pulls in 68%.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a landslide. I think it would have been a lot closer.
That would be an incredible number.
Yeah, especially being outspent 2-1. So, all right. So Ward 1. Ward 1 is is that your area?
No. I live in Ward 3.
You're also in Ward 3. You're close to Ward 1.
Yes.
You're on the edge there. Okay. Ward 1 is the 5-person city council race up in northwest part of Des Moines. Any sense of who might win that?
Well, I think it's really a question of whether or not there'll be a runoff or not. I think everybody I've talked to expects Sean Bagnowski, if I mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry, to lead all 5. I mean, there are 4 serious candidates. One's the socialist workers who. The main point they
still don't know why they run.
Well, because they get their word out at the forums. It's a very effective, very cheap method to get their message out.
Very effective forum to get out an ineffective message.
But it's better. It's better than anything else they have. I mean, it's a very sensible tactic from their point of view.
And it has really done well in terms of getting them elected, hasn't it? Anyway, but yeah, they've got a candidate in each race, I believe.
Yes, Sean though, I think seems to have a clear edge. Bill Gray is putting up, a lot. He has a lot of support, and it may be enough to put it into a runoff.
And he got the register's endorsement, which I jokingly refer to as the kiss of death. But the truth is, in that race, when you're not all that well known, it's a fairly small universe, getting the register's endorsement is not a bad thing.
No,
I think it's going to help Gray. I think it's going to be close. I agree. I think it's going to be a close race between Gray and Bagnowski. I think Gene Minahan will do well in the inner city, where each precinct will probably deliver 30 or 40 votes at most.
Exactly.
That's my old neighborhood. I had to scrap to pull 100 votes out of some of those precincts, and I would scrap really hard to get that. But in a municipal election, you're looking at 30, 40 votes. And that's not a real strong base, unfortunately. And then Laura Nessie, who is a perennial candidate, who is articulate enough,
right guy,
doesn't really run a campaign per se that I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, he has lots of good ideas. He's had them for a long time. I don't know if they really are getting any traction with folks.
So I guess in Ward 1 it comes down to this. You don't think there's any one candidate who's going to win outright?
That's my prediction, yeah.
And who do you think the top 2 will be?
Sean and Bill Gray.
Okay, so we agree on something.
Yes.
How about that? So
always good. Always good.
And when is the if there is a runoff, presumably there will be. When will that be? Sometime in December, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's early December is my guess.
All right. Well, that's our prediction there is Bill Gray and Sean. Again, I'm not quite
Bagnowski.
sure. Bagnowski, okay, sure. Ward 3, that's the other interesting one where you've got a challenger coming up against an incumbent, Chris Hensley.
Yes, and the challenge is very bright and very articulate, and probably if he sticks with it, has a bright future, but it's not going to be this race. Chris is going to win going away. Not only did she outspend Cal Woods 10-1, or close to that. Chris Hensley knows everybody, and generally speaking,
and some of those people who she knows don't like her very well. They feel that she's been abrasive.
Yes, no, she certainly is a more blunt
friendly
personality,
and more friendly to corporate interests than neighborhood concerns. I mean, that's why Cal's got that neighborhood theme, Neighbors for Cal Woods theme, because she has irritated a lot of neighborhood people. She's also done some things that have pleased neighborhood people.
Well, she goes to almost all the neighborhood meetings.
Yeah.
She speaks at them, answers questions, and I know for a fact if you ask her a question and she doesn't know the answer to, she gets back to you in the next day or two, which is pretty darn good service. Yeah. She's a pretty impressive council person in terms of hard working.
And here's what surprised me. Is, again, Cal Woods got in the race late, landed all the labor endorsements, firefighters, city workers, whatnot. It's all good. That comes with some money, some help. He's got some brochures, some yard signs. And again, I agree, too, that he has a promising political future. And this race, so far, he has built political capital.
Yes, definitely.
Unlike Chris Diebel. But I was just shocked to see this piece come out the other day. Neighbors for Cal Woods, $40 million franchise fee debt voted for by incumbent Christine Hensley. This is the exact same issue that Chris Diebel has gotten so much crap for.
Well, there is a difference.
Why is Cal?
Well, there is a difference because Chris was on the council.
Well, I know, but still, it's.
Skip came on after everything was already in a mess.
It's not as slick a brochure. That's good. It came out late. It's half the size, but still, there are got to be people who have been following this debate who are thinking, why is he doing the same thing that Chris Diebel?
Well, that does assume people follow the debate, to be honest about it. Generally speaking, municipal and school board elections are low saliency. People are not terribly excited about them.
Well, I don't see him. I don't see him getting a lot of flack for that, just because it was just one small piece late.
And the situation is somewhat different, too. Skip did get on the council.
Hensley was on the council then.
It's his first term, so he was only on the council 4 years. Chris has been on there, I believe, 20.
Yeah. What's your prediction for the election in Ward 3?
Probably 2/3 for Hensley.
So 66% for Hensley?
Yes.
So you and I are going in the opposite direction on a couple of these races. I think she's gonna get 60.
Okay.
But
to be honest, I don't think she cares.
I think you're probably right. I didn't ask you this ahead of time. You can tell me to go jump in a lake or any other crater nearby. But are you endorsing anybody publicly in either of these races?
There are very, very few races that I don't get involved. That I don't put up yard signs. I bought our house on house where we bought it. One of the key factors was it's a great place for yard signs. I have a Skip Moore and Chris Hensley combination, which is one of the strangest combinations.
You're just kind of with the incumbents, aren't you?
I like two people who keep the council lively.
Well,
they're both kind of edgy people, and they both articulate different, very, very different views. But I think they make sure that those views are raised.
Lively is good, and I think Cal Woods will provide that for us. I'm definitely for. I don't have a vote in Ward 1. If I did, I would probably support Bill Gray. But I do like Cal Woods. I think he would bring a nice perspective to the council and not be so abrasive. That's my problem.
My guess is Cal Woods will one day be on the city council if he sticks to it.
He might. Yeah, again, he's not. He's building political capital, not burning it. So that's
people have to always realize if I lose a race, that it shouldn't finish off your aspirations.
And you're speaking to somebody who's batting 2 for 5.
I won my 3rd time out.
Well, you are persistent, Jonathan.
And it was worth it.
All right. Hey, we'll see where we fall in the next issue. I want to talk about the $81 million referendum for the courts. That's a hot issue that's on the ballot, not just here in Des Moines, but all of Polk County. We'll talk about that when we come back. Again, I want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit and remind folks to sign up. For only $35, you get a whole day of learning how to grow or even start your business at Drake University. The Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit, and you don't have to be a recent immigrant. You can have come over here a long time ago, like Jonathan or me. I also want to thank Community CPA and Associates at 3860 Ingersoll Ave, now the 10th largest accounting firm in Iowa. And I want to thank Ritual Cafe. Stop in at Ritual Cafe morning, evening, or afternoon for a great cup of tea, cup of coffee, smoothie, or a panini. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. We'll talk about this courthouse referendum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager
I'm the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. We're going to switch gears. We're going to keep talking elections because, tomorrow is election statewide. All cities in the state. If you live in a city, you get to vote for somebody on the city council, possibly the mayor as well. And in some places, I know Altoona has a special referendum as well. Plenty of places have local referendums. We have a big one here in Polk County. It deals with the courts. But first, I got to take a second to thank some of my business allies, Gateway Market and Cafe. Gateway Market is at 20th and Woodland. I had breakfast with a family of 6 there on Sunday, and it was everything was great. The service was great. It was packed. There's a reason it's packed. Their breakfast is fantastic, and lunch is great. So is dinner, especially dinner on Monday nights. It's like a couple bucks off for a fantastic meal. But also, of course, a grocery store, and again, it's local. That keeps your money local in the community when you support Gateway Market and Cafe. I want to thank one of my new business partners, Corazon Coffee Roasters. I am not a coffee fan, but I appreciate fair trade, and Corazon sells nothing but fair trade coffee. To my delight, they also sell fair trade tea. Check them out in West Des Moines, folks, in Valley Junction, or online at Corazon Coffee Roasters. I also want to thank Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering. Tally's is at 2712 Beaver Ave, open for lunch and supper and Sunday brunch. And again, not just a restaurant, but a great catering service as well. All right, so if you live in Polk County and if you have been at all involved in voting, you have probably gotten tons of these. And I didn't know where Jonathan stood on this. I was kind of hoping he'd be in favor of it because then we could fight a little bit. But no, apparently Jonathan also thinks that this ought to get a no vote. And you have a huge pile in front of you.
I've gotten a total of 8, count them 8, of these brochures. I for a while I was thinking there may be some duplication, but I went through them last night to make sure they aren't.
Everyone
It
is
hasn't
unique.
been. Everyone is unique.
But have you got multiple copies of some?
No, well, I may have, but I've pruned those out.
All right.
I mean, sometimes my wife may get one addressed to her and one to me.
Yeah.
Some people
That's
household,
sufficient.
Some people household and some people, some campaigns don't. But there are at least 8 brochures that our house in Des Moines got. First of all, that's a bizarre number. I mean, I think any advertising person would
Why?
say there's a law of diminishing returns. I mean, you're throwing.
I see.
They're all saying the same thing. Now, I understand you want to reinforce the message, but I think you go deeper into each one. It's a very surface, basically fear and public safety argument that is made. Okay, after the first 3, you're really not gaining anything by keep sending out the mailing. I'd be fascinated to know exactly who's contributing to this. I didn't look that up.
Well, it's a big chunk from the lawyers,
Okay.
the local bar association, and another big chunk from downtown businesses. Principal, yeah, I don't want to list them. I can't remember, but it's mostly big downtown businesses and lawyers who are backing it.
Okay.
And I want to say they've raised. I want to say the price tag is about $300,000.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Which is an amazing amount of money to run a campaign when you don't have an opponent. There's no one. I mean, E.J. Giovanetti, sitting where you were a couple weeks ago, kind of referred to me as the opposition. But I mean, I was sitting down with a lawyer friend of mine, and he said, "Well, I'm supporting it just barely, and I'm kind of opposing it, but just barely. I mean, I see some value in restoring the courthouse. I see some value in separating juvenile services, but I like the fact that they reduced the price tag by $50 million over the last one they offered. But I despise the scare tactics."
Well, I agree with you. I despise the scare tactics also, and I think they're misplaced. I don't think anybody who's sitting in the courthouse is afraid of the inmates who are walking by, the criminal defendants who are walking
Right.
by. It just isn't a fear people seem to have. But the other thing is, keep in mind, they're really trying to sell this on it's only $1.50 a month in an increased property tax. But we also have other things ahead of us, like paying for the franchise fee.
Well, yeah.
assuming they're not going to do it by cutting, and based upon prior experience, that's a likely thing, they're either going to be raising the property tax or the franchise fee by more than $1.50 a month.
And once they raise it, it may not go back down again. It's really, it's very difficult for a government to decide to.
Well, the
reduce
franchise
the
fee, in
tax.
theory, has to go back down if they do it that way,
Well,
because the law
yeah,
that allows
okay,
them to
good
raise
point,
it is
good point.
only for that purpose.
Good point, right.
But no, if it was a property tax, it would be hard to get it back down again.
Yeah.
There'll be other rationales down the road.
So, I mean, it does surprise me that there has been no organized opposition. I mean, once I was the one who organized the opposition back in 1995 or 6 when a proposal was made for a new jail. I led the charge on that. Bill Reichardt worked with me. Maggie Moss worked with me. We had a committee called Citizens for Jail Sense, and we trounced the opposition on that one. And then, of course, they ended up approving a jail, a new jail, which I was delighted to be able to spend one night in. There, I got you beat on that. I bet that's not on your bucket list, is it?
No.
Spend a night in the Polk County Jail?
No.
Okay, well, it wasn't really on mine either. It just kind of happened that way. But the last referendum was for 130-something million, and that was soundly defeated. It surprises me there's no opposition. It really does. And maybe that's what maybe that's the only hope they have, is to pump a huge amount of money into this, hope for no opposition, and hope for a low turnout. I mean, again, 68% of the voters, 6 to 8% are voting in this coming election, probably.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, where is that 6 to 8% going to fall? They need 60% to pass this.
Yes.
Do you think they'll get
That's a
60%?
I'm guessing if all the money they've spent, and there has been polling on this. I've gotten a polling question on this. It was a poll where you press a 1 or a 2 as opposed to in person. But I know they're doing polling on this. My guess is they're going to pass it.
What do you think the percentage is going to be?
68.
68%?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Again, because of lack of opposition.
I was going to predict that it would fail with 58% supporting it.
That could be, but
We'll see.
It's very hard to get a feel on it. People aren't talking about it at all. I mean,
Yeah.
the media are not even giving it any.
Well,
any
the
play.
register's giving
The
it a lot of
the register's
love.
a cheerleader for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cheerleader for it. So Anyway, we'll see what happens, but we'll be back. Jonathan will be back with me on Wednesday, along with Graham Gillette. We're going to debrief the election. We're going to tell you how amazing it was that we were so accurate in our predictions, or we're going to eat some crow and say, wow, I can't believe we were so far off. But we're also going to start talking about some of the statewide elections coming up next year, and maybe even take a little bit of a half peek toward the 2016 Iowa caucuses, which, of course, is a big event. And once the 2014 election cycle is over, well, we'll see more and more presidential candidates. We're already seeing them. Ted Cruz has been here 3 times in 3 months. How lucky are we? Anyway, Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you again on Wednesday.
Yes, indeed.
I hope you have a good voting experience.
I actually voted already.
Oh, you did? Oh. Here's a good argument against absentee balloting. I mean, if the register can change its mind on an endorsement, maybe you might as well. I never vote absentee.
That's always a drawback.
I never vote absentee. Somebody might say something incredibly brilliant or stupid, and I want to be there to be able to capitalize that.
Risk, yes.
Anyway, all right. Hey, Jonathan, thank you for joining us. Folks, I again want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show and remind you to check out Gateway Market at 20th and Woodland in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. I also want to thank the Fighting Burrito with locations at 13th and Locust in Des Moines and also at 117 Welch Ave in Ames. I want to thank Diana's Wedding Cakes out of Newton. And if you've got a wedding coming up, a birthday party, a bar mitzvah, you name it. She can do a cake, cupcakes, cookies, you name it. Also, I want to thank one of my newest clients, the bookstore, right here in downtown Des Moines. It's between 6th and 7th on Locust. The bookstore is one of the only 2 locally owned bookstores in Des Moines and well worth a visit. The proprietor, John Heitzman, is a delightful fellow, can show you around his store, and if he doesn't have what you need, he knows where to get it. I want to thank Maddie Kane, my producer. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio for the show. And folks, tomorrow we're going to kick off the conversation. We have a special hour-long show tomorrow. We're going to start with a look at a Elite Camp video saying that revolting is possibly our only option left. And we'll talk about what he means by that. We're also going to look at some new climate data suggesting that, again, that the warming situation we're going to be facing is really serious. We're also going to talk with Kathleen McQuillan with American Friends Service Committee about drones. We're going to talk with Josh Mandelbaum with the Environmental Law and Policy Center about the whole conflict over Iowa's water quality. And Cheryl Thomas with Iowans for Gun Safety is going to join us to talk about the recent horrific shooting. Again, they're all horrific, at a school in Nevada. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, at 5:30.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.